a play in New York right now, and wasn't really able to get here for the weekend. And
what's the play?
I'm doing Angels in America right
That's
now.
right.
Yeah, totally. Until next Sunday. I have 6 more performances when I go back to New York after this crazy whirlwind. But it worked out that the screening was on Tuesday, which allowed me to come. But it wasn't necessarily the most strategic position in terms of selling the film. A lot of the buyers come for the first weekend and then go back to LA and do various things and maybe come back for the closing weekend. But the press and industry screening was really the brainchild of you guys in Cassian, always.
I mean, it's Cassian. It's difficult as a filmmaker. You've obviously, you give up a real audience, basically.
It was a risk.
And the excitement, yeah. And but we felt, and Cassian felt, that the film was what it was, and it had strengths, and he felt that it was worth doing. It was terrible from my viewpoint.
What you had, because I went to that screening, and
I heard it was
tell
a disaster.
You something. Harvey did one of his numbers where he was like breezing in at the end, and I was like running in late, and he was going to do me a solid and help me get in when there were no seats,
right.
and they were saving, and I stood through the movie.
That's
what
you
did. You really did.
I'm so sorry.
That's incredible.
Thank you. Well, that's a testament to how well it engaged me, because I could have split at any time.
But you can imagine
my
as a
knees were
filmmaker,
hurting.
It's like,
That's really
because we were stalking. I could now admit it. We had
staked out across the street.
Not even across the street. It's a parking lot, and so 8 or 9 of us were hiding behind cars, literally, because we're not supposed to be there. That was part of the rules. Couldn't even do an introduction or anything. You guys were
you
just
missed the
seeing
Q&A. You missed the whole.
You were just coming in, So, but it wasn't big enough.
Yeah, well, obviously.
So half of the people.
There were lines around the block. A lot of my colleagues did not get in.
And that I think has a lot to do with ultimately the buzz. I mean, look, we're really lucky that Cassian was representing this film, and Laura Rister and Rena Ronson, people who have handled that aspect of the festival for years and years and have so much more experience than any of us do as first-time producers and a first-time writer-director. To be in the hands of such capable people who know the psychology of a festival, to know how to sell things, and know how to generate the kind of interest that's necessary to get the sales made early. I mean, that's a part of it that we don't have a lot of experience in, and I think we really deferred to Cassian's experience and his knowledge in deciding to do that, and it was a risk, and luckily for us, it was a risk that paid off.
You sold to a very good distributor, too.
They're going to give.
I think they will do, they're really good marketers, and they're going to do a good job.
And
why did you go with them?
I felt, there were several decisions, but it was sort of a great compromise, which I think is creatively how a lot of great things, as long as you don't over-compromise. And so we had some offers that may have been more profitable straight up to our investor, and then there were some that were maybe, a different company that wasn't offering as much money at all.
A valuable model.
But maybe, so... But these guys had both. They were giving us a fair price. They were taking care of our investor, which is how these movies continue to get made.
So this guy, give us his name again.
Michael Ben.
Right. So he fully financed the film.
He did. We had.
Yeah, you had a
Zachary
long road with this.
Yeah, Zachary not as long as some, but Zachary and his producers and our packaging team cobbled together this great little model. And then, as the cast improved. Our investors sort of started buying out. He had the ability to, but started buying out other pieces, so that by the time we shot our first day, he was actually our only investor left.
That's hilarious. Well, you had an amazing cast. Now, they put this movie on the blacklist after it was shot.
Right.
Now, I thought the blacklist was supposed to be for movies that couldn't get made.
No, the blacklist is actually for movies that just haven't been released. Yeah. So the
Fair
fact
enough.
that it was made was we were really lucky because we really got it in under the wire.
Yeah. You discovered the script when, Zachary?
In March of 2009.
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
It'll
be
almost
2 years in March.
2 years in March.
And you wrote it
in November of 2008, so 2.5 years ago. So I wrote it
right after the crash.
In the middle of.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
So we tried. Zachary and I had an unbelievable experience, which was, I've tried to make movies for 8 years. I've been down different roads, but the summer, 3 months after we first met, there was amazingly a totally different cast. I don't think you and maybe 1 or 2 other pieces. I won't go into the details, but we had an unbelievable cast that summer.
Which would have been more expensive, as I understand it.
Well, it was mainly we couldn't find any money.
Because of the recession.
Yeah, it was. We were so in the middle of it, and so that summer kind of came and went. Without the film getting made, and then as time goes by, people fall out and stuff, and so by by that next winter and fall, we started to cobble the thing together again. But it's been
we took some really this is it's been an incredible learning experience for all of us,
Yeah.
and along the way we made plays that if we had known better we would never have made, and we learned from them, and we learned from the evolution of where those plays took us or didn't take us, and I don't know. It's
Why were you acting as a producer at that stage?
Because
this is pre-Star Trek too, right?
I started a production company after I was cast in Star Trek, but before it came out, sort of like in the midst of finishing the movie and before it came out. And we had talked about it since before then. I recognized that I was given a great opportunity as an actor, and I wanted to do something with it. And what I wanted to do with it was share that kind of opportunity with people who are, as talented or more talented than me, and who are only missing that one piece, which is the opportunity. And so I started the company with two very good friends of mine who I've known, Neil Dodson and Corey Musso. We all went to college together. I've known Neil since I was 16, so half my life, and it was based on a real spirit of collaboration. And JC came along and was introduced to us through a mutual friend of Neil's and his, and it just became really clear that this was the kind of project we wanted to get behind, the kind of story we wanted to tell, something that has social relevance, something that is intelligent and doesn't take an audience for granted.